Hi, Mayor Lou Manzo here with you again, and I want to welcome you to this next in our series of video communications that we're putting out during this COVID crisis. Um, First, I want to say I hope you have a great Easter weekend, as great as could be expected, as we're all kind of isolated with family. Big holiday weekend, so make the most of it, and I hope it's good in your families. 4 walls this weekend. I also want to update you on a few things as I've done in the past. As I said in my most recent update, written update, the county did conduct their first drive-through test this past Thursday, which was, Wednesday, a couple days ago. We had 62 people file through, went very smoothly. The plan is going forward that there will be a test day once a week, at least going forward, and that will be announced from the county, and then we will convey that to you as soon as we get that news. Also on the county side, as far as the support that they're providing, the Department of Economic Development, under the leadership of Tom Bianco at the county, has done, great work. And I have referred several of our residents to them and to him directly for support for things as simple as questions about filing for unemployment, or certainly anything to do with the Small Business Association loan and forgivable loan program. So please use that source. They're there for you. We pay taxes to the county for this reason. Their direct phone number is 856-384-6930. Again, 856-384-6930. Please use that resource if you have any questions. Locally, some of the initiatives that you've seen me write about recently are the Digital Main Street, which is just rolling out. We all are very focused on helping and supporting our local businesses as they have done for us during this period. That Digital Main Street program is designed to do that. So, keep abreast of what's happening in that world over these next several weeks. Several, good things are happening that we're doing to help support business, and also in our attempt to make sure that our healthcare workers, those frontline soldiers in this battle, know that we are so appreciative of everything that they're doing, supporting them in every way possible. We put our digital signs out with messages and displays of support, and we started the Heroes in the Hill initiative. Please go to the landing page on our website, Heroes in the Hill, where you can upload artwork and cards or messages of thank you and support from your children to these healthcare workers, which we will share with them first digitally and then potentially actually deliver the finished product to them at some point. So we want to make sure that you do that. And last but not least, continuing when it comes to community support, I wrote yesterday about members of our community that stepped up and purchased personally 5,000 masks and donated them to the hospital, and a small portion going to a local doctor also. And I want to thank again, for everyone to see, thank Dunkin' Donuts in town, Wingate Tree Service, and our Harrison Township Youth Basketball Association for footing the bill on that and making that donation. Again, it just goes to show what the spirit of the Mulligan Hill community is. I want to thank them again directly. And as we've made it a custom, we have guests at every one of these little interactions. Today, our guest is John Horchak, who is the superintendent of Clearview Regional High School. So welcome, John.
Good morning, Mayor. How are you today?
I'm good. We'll start with the obvious question that I'm asking everybody when we're having these little get-togethers is, how has this situation, and I keep using the word crisis, maybe I'll just light it up, this situation impacted you, your family, and your workday?
Well, before I start answering that, I just wanted to publicly thank you for your efforts. Your communication efforts have been excellent during this time, and just thank you for your leadership. It is a very critical time for our community, our county, our entire state, and obviously our country. I've been a resident of the Clearview community now for 20 years, and I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. Very proud of our community, especially at this point in time. In regards to what's going on in life now, in 4 walls of my house and office, Uh, I think it probably replicates what most of the community is looking like, and that is unrecognizable relative to where it was a month ago, and filled with uncertainty. My son happens to be in college in Vermont as a junior. His college, like all other colleges across our country, has closed. So he is now digital learning at home. He has set up an office in the basement and he's officially online. My wife's place of employment is closed indefinitely, like many others. My daughter is working on the front lines as an emergency department nurse at Children's Hospital in Philadelphia, and is working through this crisis with all the other dedicated healthcare professionals. And by the way, I just wanted to thank you for, I know you had something to do with this, setting up the recognition of those heroes in Mullica Hill. And they really are heroes, our first responders and the people in the medical profession right now. And they certainly deserve our support ongoing. From a work perspective, things have been unpredictable, to say the least. The first 3 weeks are under our belt now. Quite frankly, the first week in preparations was very difficult just because the environment was constantly changing. And it was a bit frustrating, like everybody else experienced the same thing, but we started to recognize that every level of government, from schools right to the state and probably all the way up to the national level, we're just trying to figure this out one day at a time, step by step. So we're just trying to keep, look at things through that understanding and through that lens. We're trying to be proactive and implement protocols as quickly as we can. So from, you can see my four walls have changed like everybody else's. We are absolutely living a different life of what we're used to. However, we are maintaining the glass half full mentality across the board, and especially at Clearview. And I say that in recognizing that it is difficult, but we can find some kind of silver lining in this process. For example, at home, the things that we kind of take for granted, those family dinners are not a thing of the past, but certainly less frequent in our current society when things are normal. Now we're having an opportunity to enjoy that again without running out to what's scheduled next.
Yeah.
And from a professional perspective, I've been very fortunate to witness 450 people, employees coming together in one concerted effort, really pulling together. We talk a lot about family and being a tight-knit community, but this has really solidified that. And I think I've been, fortunate to watch that come to fruition.
Yeah. I mean, I echo that every time I have conversations like this silver lining mentality. And, it's been forced upon us, but sometimes that's how it has to happen. So I agree with you. Kind of enjoying or taking note of some of those things that maybe we used to take for granted. So
Right.
In reference to, and I spoke to Dr. Peretti earlier, so it's similar, but at 7th grade and up, kids 13, 14 and older as they get to and graduating high school, it's obviously a different curriculum. How has that worked with you, this transition to remote learning at the high school level?
Well, I think all schools experienced something very similar, and that was the limited time to thoroughly prepare. But I guess that's a very generic statement in today's times. I'm sure your full-time position and everybody else that, regardless of your occupation, kind of felt that way. It would have been nice to have a little more time to prepare, but that was just the reality of it. So, I think we're doing pretty well, all things considered. One of the difficulties was the lack of clear requirements throughout the planning process. We kind of felt like we were spinning our wheels sometimes, sprinting towards a target, and all of a sudden the target moves on you and you have to hit the brakes and start again and move in another direction. So we did our level best to maintain communications with various state agencies, and they were supportive. But as I said a minute ago, they were figuring it out on the fly like we were, and just trying to be as patient as we could be through the process. Another difficult process that we had to go through was combating the social media rumors that were out there as to what we were doing as a district, what was going on in the community. So we knew we had to move quickly because parents needed information to plan their lives professionally and personally, especially for younger children. I imagine it was probably more difficult at the elementary end because of the daycare scenarios where as a 12 to 18-year-old typically has the ability to be at home alone.
Right, right.
From
And
a remote learning, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead, keep going.
Well, from a remote learning perspective, we were prepared from a technological perspective. Our teacher knowledge base was very solid. And we were blessed by the fact that we just happened to be lucky to have a professional development day scheduled the day prior. So that gave us an opportunity to smooth out the rough edges and make sure that we were ready to go starting on March 16th.
Right.
We had a lot of operational issues to deal with. You know, one of the biggest issues we had to tackle was our preparation and distribution of free and reduced lunches for our students.
Yeah.
Basically, we had to ensure technology was available from A to Z, and it was for every student. You had to make sure, you know, that small percentage of the population that didn't have something was able to secure one. Our students had to get back in to school for one day and retrieve their personal belongings so that they were able to continue functioning at home in a remote learning environment.
Right.
So we had to address that, the distribution of Chromebooks and laptops, a little logistical issue there, and some little things that, you know, we really didn't think about a whole lot until we were faced with it was, you know, some of our students have medications in a nurse's office. If they didn't have available supplies at home, we had to make sure that they were available to come in and pick those up. I mean, it wasn't a large number, but when it's an N of 1 or greater, it's very important to our students. So,
yeah.
You know, and we like the township just address those issues as we were faced with them on a daily basis.
Yeah, deal with it as it comes. You don't have
Yeah.
much choice. So how has it been in, you know, because I know the education system in town, you know, and you being responsible for that at the high school level has a reputation that is, you know, second to none pretty much in the state. You know, we know we have a great school system. How have you been able to have this new remote process address the individual needs of some of your students?
Well, that was one of our biggest questions when we started, and I think the creative ideas from our staff and our administrators shine through. As you know, a percentage of our population, like every population of a school, has classified students who have an individualized education plan. And those needs are vastly different from student to student. It's not a one-size-fits-all scenario. So members of our child study team and our contracted professionals are working closely with the students and their families to find ways to continue making progress through this process. Some of the things they've done is they've actually implemented like social groups in an effort to the students continue developing those socialization skills. You know, our MD classes are going on virtual field trips. We have behavioral analysts working directly with parents, providing supports to families during the transition process. You know, a month ago, I don't think any of us thought that we would be providing physical therapy or occupational therapy, speech services, you know, remotely. And in fact, that's exactly what we're doing on a daily basis. You know, our special education teachers and the instructional aides, child study team staff members, they're all taking this opportunity to kind of capitalize on that one-on-one process of communication and developing a little bit of a deeper relationship and an understanding with the student because time allows for that right now.
Yeah.
Lastly, one of the reasons we felt comfortable addressing the issue was basically the state and federal government really took an objective view as to what was transpiring, and they modified some of their regulations that enabled us to feel secure that we were able to address the needs of each individual student.
Well, that doesn't happen often, right?
No, unique circumstances, that's for sure.
Yeah. So in reference to, you know, staying connected to both students and staff, how is that going?
Much better than anticipated. I was pleasantly surprised. I knew we were prepared, but you sometimes don't realize how creative people can be until they're put into that situation. So our counselors are playing a really an integral role in maintaining contact with our students. They have check-ins and they have identified specific issues, and we're able to quickly remedy the issues. As I mentioned a couple minutes ago, some of our classes are holding as virtual field trips, allowing for one-to-one and group conversations. I know specifically one of our special education aides actually is pre-recording messages and sending them, the audio message to the students on a daily basis. I think you're aware of the fact that Clearview, and I think most other schools in the area, have really ramped up over the last 3 years or so their social emotional efforts and recognition of the supports that are needed. Students of all ages, K through 12. It's obvious that in our current environment that is going, that need is ramped up. So we have to continue that process. It's really important. So our staff is focused on ensuring the students are receiving, the supports they need during this process. With that in mind, we're keeping the recommendations of our mental health professionals in mind. We're trying to provide flexibility with our schedule for students, staff, and I guess parents too at this point. And we are conducting virtual check-ins, which enable us to monitor the social emotional health of students that we may feel are at risk. As you know, Mayor, even when we were students in high school and well before that time, that was probably 5 or 10 years ago now, right?
Yeah, at least.
Or decades maybe.
Yeah,
right. Feels like 5 decades at this point.
Yeah.
But in all seriousness, the socialization is really an important factor of a student's identity. And so those daily connections are really important. So we're trying to provide as many opportunities for our students to maintain those connections and interactions. The other unique ways, we've had our staff members submit pictures and we've put videos together. Fortunately, we have people here who can do that, and then we're sending that out with music behind it, which has been pretty cool. Our high school has still continued to identify students that we would kind of the same scenario that we would have if we're in school. And that is we identify students for the random acts of kindness. And we're receiving that information. And even in this remote environment, we're able to identify some pretty special students. Our principals continue to record videos and update and have weekly meetings and updates with their entire, not just the staff, but really their entire school population. One of our students set up a trivia game after school for students. So that was kind of neat to see that they were engaging in some sort of socialization. We also had a staff member set up he's a fitness instructor and set up a virtual boot camp video that he has out there a couple times a day. So after being behind this desk for the last couple of weeks, I think I should probably jump in line there and join that. And lastly, this is really neat. Jessica Datz, our student assistance counselor, put together the first parent social emotional webinar the other night for an hour. And we had parents dial in and have communications and provide resources for them. So it was nice to see that come to fruition. So they've been very creative, and I think they're going to continue to do so.
It's the quintessential example of adapting endlessly. Like the book, The Art of War says, you have to adapt endlessly. And boy, oh boy, that's happening. And it sounds like it's happening in such a great way in your world. So that's really cool. So today's April 10th. The $1 million question, which I know you don't have total definition to, but I'm sure people would want to hear that. What is your plan as it sits today on April 10th for the balance of the school year?
Well, obviously this changes. This answer changes day to day. So right now, what we're focusing on is timely responses to community members, students, parents, and staff members, and addressing their needs immediately. For example, one of the things we did early on was we had a survey in regards to technology availability at home. And that survey came out, and we were able to address the student need if, in fact, he or she needed a computer, and we were able to provide that. However, some of the students' lives have changed at home. As we mentioned, a lot of businesses are closed. So now we're in a scenario where, either mom or dad are working from home and now the computer isn't available, or, somebody may have lost a job and they no longer have access to the business computer. So we're trying to respond to those needs as quickly as possible. Our technology department still remains working remotely, but also able to provide supports on a daily basis. We're also incorporating our free and reduced lunch preparation and distribution, and our bus drivers and our bus aides are actually involved as well, delivering meals on a daily basis. So we'll obviously continue to monitor what's going on nationally and modify our plan accordingly. Specifically, we're getting a lot of questions in regards to athletics and the senior trip and graduation. We are absolutely committed and determined to making sure our seniors have some type of graduation experience. And at this time, quite frankly, we're staying very positive. Graduation scheduled for June 16th at 6 p.m. on the stadium field. We want to stay focused on that mindset, and we want to provide our community members and our students hope that will, in fact, come to fruition. However, we are prepared if the governor or if the overall crisis is not resolved by an appropriate amount of time to open schools, we're prepared to move into a remote learning for the balance of the year. We remain hopeful that will not be the case. We do plan on having as many student related events as possible at the end of the year, even if it's for a few weeks. That goes all the way down to the athletic department. I mean, NJSIA just communicated with us this morning that they will, in fact, allow athletics to occur all the way through June 30th. So if you get in at some point in a month or so, we do have an opportunity, but we are prepared to move forward academically if need be. So we have a lot of other things going on that we have to prepare for next year. We have to hire staff. We have to develop student schedules, and part of that right now, our counselors are speaking with the students about course selection for next year because that cannot wait until the summer. That's a process that is every spring that's put in motion. Other things, obviously with student schedules come staff schedules, and we also have things like bus route development that a lot of people don't think about. That doesn't happen overnight. So that, and all the other small things that we typically do in the spring, we're trying to stay on course, even if it has to be predominantly in a remote setting. One of the things we have learned as we're looking back at our overall security plan and our continuity of operation plan is a recognition now that we can incorporate a remote learning portion into that environment, because we've always really just focused on the physical plant needs as opposed to what can we do. We now know we can do it, and we're doing it every day. So we will be going in over the next few months and modifying that plan to incorporate remote learning. Back in the fall, there was also a reference to a referendum. We're going to continue moving down that path to make all the appropriate preparations so that when there is an appropriate time, whatever that time is, that we will be prepared and that we don't have to start over. So we recognize, things are a bit upside down throughout the country right now. However, we do want to be prepared when we move forward. And of course, all the business office operations and board office operations will continue as well.
Yeah. I mean, look, we all know we will come out of this and there will be life on the other side. Granted, it might be a little altered to a new norm, but whatever that is, this will too, pass, and
Right.
You have to be prepared. So I want to thank you for taking the time to be with us today. I know I speak for the whole community and really thanking you and making sure you convey that to your entire staff, the teachers and the whole staff there at Clearview. It sounds like you are, it's not even just making the most of what the situation is. You are actually, finding the silver lining and finding potentially, what will be takeaways to build upon going forward once the new norm is here, because of this forced process, remote learning that we're in, and making such a, finding your way through it. So I want to commend you on that. You're, obviously the education system is a huge part of the community. We thank you for everything you're doing. Any final thoughts before we call it a wrap, John?
Well, thank you for that comment and compliment, Lou. It means a lot to us. I'll certainly pass that on to our staff. And it is it's not an N of one, as they say. It's a team effort. It's every individual from start to finish here at Clearview, like same scenario as any organization. But I do want to thank the community for their support during this process. The outreach and support has been genuinely appreciated. And I think it really has shown me the role we play as an organization in our community. I do want to commend our staff and our students. They've certainly shown resiliency over the past month. The staff has been creative and very dedicated to their craft. And the students in this environment are really still focused on academics. So that's a credit to them. Parents, I just want to communicate to the parents, I can't thank them enough. I know that their jobs have continued, like all of our jobs have continued, but they are now asked and charged with absorbing a different set of responsibilities at home and being more involved than ever in the education process. So their efforts have enabled us to be successful to date. And the plan doesn't work without our parents. We need their engagement in this and their support. I would ask that our residents visit our website, our remote learning plan section. It talks about a little bit about phase 1 and phase 2 of the plan and some of the differences. Specifically in the April 2nd edition of the communication is when we addressed the phase and we rolled out our plan from A to Z. Also, in regards to resources, our student assistance counselor, who I mentioned a few minutes ago, continues to post to her website and provide resources for our community. And certainly last but not least, our Board of Education has been very supportive and an integral part of this plan and implementation. As an elected official, your needs are urgent often. And when you need that support, you can't wait until the next board meeting. You can't wait until the next week. And their availability has really been beneficial to us and has allowed us to roll out things in a timely manner. So I guess just a big thank you to the entire Clearview school community for coming together. I think during this time, we've all seen tangible ways how our community supports each other. And I really think it's a great example for our students. And I genuinely believe that we are going to come out more prepared and a more united community than we've ever been in the past. So I hope the spring break provides a little bit of relief over the next couple days. And people can re-energize and get refocused for what we have ahead of us over the next month or so. So thank you again, Mayor, for providing this forum, and I genuinely appreciate your support and your ongoing efforts with the township as well.
I'm with you. Again, our guest today was Clearview Superintendent John Horchak. So everybody have a good and calm Easter weekend. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay Harrison strong. See you soon.